This is the videotape deposition of Noel Stephen, taken in the matter of Saeed Akhtar Khan, MD, versus Noel Stephen et al. This deposition is being held at 1601 Forum Place, Suite 505, West Palm Beach, Florida. Today's date is May 9th, 2024. The time is 10:10 a.m. The court reporter's name is Wendy Anderson with the firm of Esquire Deposition Solutions. The videographer is David Zieber with the firm of Esquire Deposition Solutions. Would counsel now please introduce themselves?
Yes, I'll start. Valentin Rodriguez, counsel for the plaintiff.
Edward Reagan, counsel for the plaintiff.
Richard Jafrida on behalf of Sheriff Stephen
Adriana
and Deputy Gonzalez. Sorry.
Adriana Gisa for Sheriff Stephen and Deputy Gonzalez.
Merrick Shaken for Defendant Albright and Defendant Hendricks.
Sorry.
Hand for me, please, sir. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give in this cause today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Thank you, sir.
Could you state your full name for the record, please?
Noel Edwin Stephen.
Okay, and sir, where are you currently employed?
Okeechobee County Sheriff's Office.
And what's your position?
Sheriff.
And how long have you had that position?
A little over 7 years.
Okay. I wanted to talk a little bit about your education and training before you became sheriff. Could you tell me where did you graduate college, if at all?
I just advanced training classes is all. No graduate from college.
Okay. And when did you begin your law enforcement career?
In 1987,
Okay. And where was that at?
Okeechobee County Sheriff's Office.
And in what position were you in at that point?
Correctional officer.
And did you have any specialized training to become a correctional officer?
Not at initial hire.
Okay. And did you ultimately obtain training as a correctional officer?
Yes, sir.
And when did you become a sworn law enforcement officer?
That was a full sworn law enforcement officer position.
Okay. Did you go to an academy?
Yes.
And what was that academy?
Indian River State, or then Community College,
IRCC at the time?
or IRCC.
Yeah, IRCC. Okay, good. And where did you go after becoming a correctional officer?
I went through crossover training to become a deputy sheriff.
And what year do you think that was?
90-ish.
Okay. And when you went over to crossover training to become a deputy sheriff, when did you actually become a deputy sheriff?
Upon completion of the academy, best of my recollection.
And do you recall what year that may have been?
90, 91.
Okay. And at the Okeechobee County Sheriff's Office, could you go through the oldest position you had up until your position now as sheriff? What type of positions did you have?
Road patrol, moved to detective bureau, had several different assignments in the detective bureau, moved back to road patrol as a supervisor, went back to the detective bureau at a few other capacities, went back to road patrol as a supervisor, became captain of road patrol, became second in command chief deputy, and then became sheriff.
Okay. Now, did you run to become sheriff? Did you have to?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what year did you become sheriff?
2016 became sheriff in 17.
And did you run again for sheriff after 2017? Or after you
Yes, sir.
became?
2020.
Okay. And are you up for re-election now?
Correct.
Okay. And who are you currently married to?
Vanessa.
Same last name?
Correct.
Okay. And is Vanessa related to a prior sheriff of Okeechobee County?
Correct.
Who would that be?
Paul May.
And prior to you being married to Vanessa, who were you married to?
Lori
What was her last name?
Rollerson Stephen.
And was she related to the former Sheriff Rollerson?
Correct.
And how long have you been married to Vanessa Stephen?
4 years this year.
So you were married sometime in the year 2020?
Correct.
Okay. And I meant to ask you, so I apologize. I assume you've had your deposition taken before?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mean the same, so if you could just say yes or no, we appreciate it. If you don't understand a question, just say so. If you need a break at any time, just let us know. We've got refreshments and things over there. I represent Dr. Saeed Khan. Do you know Dr. Khan?
Yes, sir.
And how do you know him?
We grew up together, in my opinion.
Okay. When you say you grew up together, what do you mean by that?
His practice and my practice have been side to side for 30 years.
Okay. What's your practice?
Law enforcement,
Okay. What's his practice?
medical.
Okay. Are you familiar with a person named Teresa Bishop, or now known as Teresa Chandler?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We're going to refer to her, for simplicity's sake, as Chandler, Miss Chandler, even though we know she was known as Miss Bishop. Could you tell me approximately how long you've known her for?
Just guessing 20 years.
Okay. And in what capacity did you know her?
She worked several jobs throughout the county, was very involved in a youth program that was supported by Sheriff May.
Okay. And what type of youth program was that?
The acronym was BRAT. I do not recall exactly what that stood for, but she interacted with the youth, had dances, had evening activities, stuff for them to do.
And at some point, did she work anywhere else that you can recall?
Yes, sir. Waste management.
And what did she do at Waste Management, if you can recall?
I would call it public liaison.
Okay. And do you know how long she had worked as a public liaison at Waste Management?
Pure guess, I don't know exactly. A couple years.
Did you know what she actually did there?
No, sir.
Okay. Did you ever have an occasion to receive requests from her in her capacity at Waste Management for the use of inmate labor?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and when would that have been, if you can recall?
I don't recall the exact date.
Okay, we'll start off then, I guess, with Exhibit 1 to see if these exhibits refresh your recollection. And I'm going to give you this. If you would look at that, sir, for a moment. I got one for this year here and one for Meredith. I've shown you, sir, a series of appears to be sorts of emails, and on the top it says Gary Cashwell. Who is Gary Cashwell?
An employee of mine
Okay, where does he work?
in the jail.
Okay, what does he do in the jail?
I forget what his title is, but he takes care of the inmate labor, the trustees, oversight of the outside crew, purchasing in the jail, multi-hat position.
Okay, and how long has he had that position?
As a supervisor, a year or two.
Okay. I meant to ask you this before. As the sheriff of Okeechobee County, are you in charge of also the Okeechobee County Jail?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how many corrections deputies do you think you have at the jail?
60-ish.
Okay. And how many deputies, sworn deputies on the road, do you believe you have underneath you?
90-ish.
90-ish. Okay. And back in 2020, would that have been the same, or have you increased since 2020?
No, very little increase,
Okay.
similar numbers.
So looking at Exhibit 1, are you familiar with, first of all, the Sheriff's Youth Camp
Yes, sir.
and the gun range?
Yes, sir.
So this was a request for inmate labor, I guess, from the Sheriff's Youth Camp. And it has required attendees. And could you explain to me who those people are that are required to attend?
This is the calendar that goes into all of these people's, the required attendees, calendars who are all sheriff's office staff,
Okay.
to let them know that the limited amount of tables and chairs that we have are loaned out at that time.
Okay. Now, is this also a request for inmate labor to use to help set this up?
Well, yes, sir.
Okay. Page 2 of Exhibit 1 is titled Justin White Daughter Wedding. Who's Justin White?
Sheriff's office employee at the time.
Okay, and it says that there was a wedding, it says location White residence. Do you know where that's located?
I don't recall right now, no, sir.
Okay, now it said required attendees, your name's there. Did you actually go to this wedding?
No, sir. Once again, it's just on the calendar, so we're understanding that the limited supplies that we have to loan out have been loaned out.
Okay. And if I understand this memo, page 2 of Exhibit 1 is that the jail allowed inmate labor and items to be used for Justin White's daughter's wedding.
Correct.
Okay. And page 3 is Elks Lodge Flag Day. Similar questions there. Is it the same request for inmate labor?
All the same as the previous two.
Okay. Page 4 is Fountain of Life event. And could you explain to me what that is?
Church located in Okeechobee County.
Okay. So it was, in this particular instance, inmate labor and chairs and tables being used for a church.
Correct.
And when I ask you about inmate labor, are these inmates that are actually housed at the Okeechobee County Jail?
Correct.
Okay. And are they special trustee status or something of that nature?
No, they're sentenced. Excuse me. They're sentenced inmates.
Okay. The next page, which I believe is page 5, is Velva Cannon Benefit Event. Could you tell me what that is?
She's a part of the, I think, the fishing club at the time, and they were doing a fundraiser for the bass club, high school bass club.
And this is a private club?
No, it's a high school club.
Okay, so you're saying it's a high school club, but I mean, is it what high school would it?
Okeechobee High School.
Okay. And again, the question is you had no issue with using inmate labor and tables and chairs for that event?
None.
Church of God Revival is on the next page. Are you familiar with that revival?
Church event.
Okay. And again, same questions. This is a use of inmate labor for this event.
Correct.
Okay. I think the one more important is probably the last page. It says Brat Club Butterfly Garden and the location's WM. What do you know that to be?
That's the Brat Club Butterfly Garden that was at the entrance at Waste Management.
Okay. And it says assist with Butterfly Garden 3 hours.
Correct.
And then contact Teresa Bishop.
Correct.
Now, do you understand this to be that sometime between June 27, 2019 and June 28, 2019, inmate labor was used to assist Teresa Bishop at the Brat Club Butterfly Garden?
Correct.
Okay, 3 hours.
Correct.
Okay. And do you recall Miss Bishop actually asking you, sorry, Miss Campbell, we'll call her, asking you.
Chandler, you mean?
Did I say, I meant Chandler?
You said
Thank
Campbell.
I meant Chandler. Miss Chandler asking you specifically for this request?
I don't recall that specifically, no, sir.
Okay. Now, are you familiar with an allegation made by Miss Chandler against Dr. Khan back in approximately May of 2020 regarding improper touching or things of that nature?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Could you tell us how you first learned of that allegation by Miss Chandler?
I honestly don't recall exactly how I recall or was first notified.
Okay. We're going to go through then Exhibit 2. And Exhibit 2, for the record, is what was attached to the complaint in this case. And before I go further questions, have you had a chance to review the amended complaint in this case?
I haven't read anything to do with anything.
Okay, so you haven't read any complaint at all in this
I
matter?
haven't read anything of anything.
Okay. And you've read no exhibits then?
No, sir.
Okay. So we're going to mark this as Exhibit 2. I'm going to show this to you and give it to counsel, and we'll go through these. Got one here. When Miss Chandler went to the sheriff's office to report the event that she alleged against Dr. Khan, do you recall if a download of her phone was taken?
I think that did happen, yes, sir, upon her complaint.
Okay. And could you explain to me what that means, a download of the phone?
Yeah, her phone is turned into as evidence, and all documents or anything entailed inside the phone is downloaded as evidence.
Okay. And do you know how that mechanism works?
No, sir.
Okay. But is this a standard law enforcement technique?
In these type of cases, yes, sir.
Okay.
Bless you.
And did you authorize this phone to be downloaded, or did it have anything to do with you?
Had nothing to do with me.
Okay. Before we get to that incident, I want to talk a little bit about your relationship with Ms. Chandler based upon these text messages. So we've got various text messages going back to, let's start on the first page, August 4th, 2017. It's a question, can you talk? And it's to a phone number 863-634-0650. Are you familiar with that phone number?
Yes, sir.
Is that your cell phone?
Yes, sir.
Is that the cell phone you've had since that time back in 2017?
Yes, sir.
Same cell phone number?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And is that a cell phone that paid for by the sheriff's office?
Yes, sir.
So it's subject to public records
Yes, sir.
request? Okay. And on August 4th, 2017, there's a comment, I hope your calls aren't recorded. If so, you've got big ammo now. Do you know what that meant, that first comment?
No clue.
Okay. Give me 1 second. Let me just find. If you'll turn over to page 2 and look at that. We printed this in color just so it's a little easier to see. On this page, there's a conversation, actually there's an attachment of a letter from you to Teresa Chandler Bishop. Do you see that letter?
Barely.
Okay. Is it possible you wrote an actual letter to her?
Very possible, yes, sir.
Okay. Just go off the record for 1 second. I have a,
We're off the record, the time is 10:29 a.m. We're on the record, the time is 10:30 a.m.
I'm going to show you, sir, what is on Exhibit 2. We're going to call it 2A just because it's enlarged somewhat, maybe easier to read. This appears to be a letter dated September 18, 2019 from Noel E. Stephen to Teresa Chandler Bishop. Can you take a moment just to read it? When you're done reading, just let me know, sir.
Well, and I'll just put an objection to the form. It doesn't appear that it's to Miss Chandler. Bishop.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just want to start for the first sentence of this letter. I have personally and professionally known Teresa Chandler Bishop for approximately 20 years. Is that an accurate statement?
Yes, sir.
So that would have been accurate as of September 18th, 2019?
Thereabouts, yes, sir.
Okay. So now maybe you've known her for 24, 25 years, fair to say?
Okay.
Okay. During this time, we've worked together on numerous community events and projects. Is that an accurate statement?
Correct.
Then in the second paragraph, you have a sentence, being a close friend, I know that her personal health has been a significant challenge in allowing her to participate. Is that an accurate statement?
Yes, sir.
And when you were using the term close friend back in 2019, what did you mean?
Close friend?
Okay. I speak with her and her husband on a regular basis and know that there have been slight improvement. Who is her husband you're referring to there?
Tony Bishop.
Okay. How well did you know Tony Bishop at that time?
Know him well?
And how long?
Don't know.
More than 10 years?
I don't know. Thereabouts.
Okay. At this time, back in 2019, how long do you think you knew him?
I don't think it was 10 years then, if you're going to count year to year.
Okay. Now, do you recall the reason you wrote this letter?
No, sir.
Okay. And do you know why it was found on a text message?
Because I guess I'd done it for her.
Okay. Is there any reason to believe you didn't write this letter?
No.
Okay. That's 2A. Now, if we'll go back to Exhibit 2, we're now on page 3 of Exhibit 2. And on the top of page 3, on January 16, 2018, there's a conversation started apparently by you, or at least from you, to Miss Chandler, saying, I have someone to spoil. I like having someone to spoil. What did you mean by that?
Not really sure.
And then she said, and you do a great job at it. What do you think she meant?
Not
Objection
really
to the form, you can answer.
Is there any reason to believe that you didn't have that conversation?
No. I mean, the conversation was had. There was text messages that were shared between the two of us. I was a single man. Has no bearing on anything to do with this case.
Okay. Now, January 16, 2018 at 5:33, according to this, there's a reference to Dream Girl and Dream Boy. Were those the phrases that you all were calling each other?
As she was flirtatious in her text messages, once again, it's inappropriate text messages between she and I when I was dating my now current wife. Has no bearing on this case.
And then at the bottom of page 3, there's a text on 7/12/2018 asking for a few trustees that can help me plant at around 5 o'clock. Do you see that request?
Yes, sir.
Does that seem to coincide with the request we just went through in Exhibit 1?
I believe so. It's got to do with the butterfly garden at Waste Management.
Did you ever receive a legal opinion on whether it was appropriate or legal to use inmate trustees in this manner?
No, sir.
Form,
You never did?
No, sir.
Okay. And are you familiar with the statutes regarding inmate labor?
Yes, sir.
form, relevance.
Now, on the next page, which would be page 4 of this exhibit, and actually there's page numbers at the top. There's conversations back and forth between you on July 12, 2018, and Ms. Chandler, and the conversations apparently are just you friendly conversations back and forth. Is that fair to say?
Okay.
Okay. I mean, is that what they seem to be, or is there something else?
Friendly conversation.
Okay. And then if we go to the next page, page 5.
Page 5 or 9?
page.
Which page numbers are you using?
The top
Up
page.
top, right.
The docketed page
Yes,
numbers?
yeah.
Okay, so I can't read the docket number because it's printed over itself.
Right. Can you read the page number?
But you're using the docket page number as opposed to the document page number?
Yes.
Okay.
So on page 5 of Exhibit 2, there's text messages on June 4th, 2019 regarding revamping the butterfly garden. Do you see that as well?
Correct.
Now, that's June 4th, 2019, and if we go back to Exhibit 1, just for a moment. Exhibit 1, the last page, shows a June 27, 2019 request. Do you know if there were actually more than one request from Mrs. Chandler?
Well, as it states in the text, it's alluding to revamping. So I'm assuming that they went through and weeded the butterfly garden that they had originally put down.
Okay. Now, at the bottom here on July 13, 2018, you stated to her, special lady gets special treatment. And what did you mean by that?
Form, you can answer.
Just flirtatious, unrelated text.
Now, was she married at the time you made that?
I'm not sure.
You didn't know whether she was married to Mr. Bishop?
No, sir.
Now, on September 18, 2019, if we go back to Exhibit 2A, you reference her husband there. So would it be fair to say that on September 18, 2019, you knew she was married to Mr. Bishop?
I didn't know anything, sir.
Well, let's go back to 2A, just so maybe I'm confused. Could you look at 2A and tell me whether you reference her husband or not?
That's, I don't know at the time that when I was sending this text, it was flirtatious text between my wife and I. The problems that I had with that.
I understand, so all I'm asking is on September 18, 2019, will you
I'm
agree?
not sure if she was married or not, sir.
But you wrote that in your letter.
Objection to form relevance.
Okay.
Okay, so you told me this was an accurate letter, so,
To the best of my recollection, yes, sir.
okay. And then we can turn to page 6 of Exhibit 1, Exhibit 2. Again, these texts that are on this page, are you agreeing are flirtatious in nature?
Correct.
Okay. So you felt comfortable enough to share these types of texts with Mrs. Chandler?
Yes.
Okay. And page 7, the same type of texts are there. Reference to love you, beautiful lady, love you, dream boy. Bottom of page 7.
Correct.
Form relevance.
On page 8 of this exhibit, on September 16, 2019, you texted her, I will do anything you ask of me. Could you tell me what you meant by that?
Form.
Just flirtatious.
Well, would you have done anything she asked you at that
No,
point?
sir.
And then she says, careful, I might just blindfold you so you don't know what you're doing. Is that a flirtatious response?
Form
Okay.
speculation, you can answer.
Page 9 of these text messages, September 25th, 2019. You're going back and forth with her. Would what you agree would be the sexual innuendos?
Form.
Flirtatious text.
Okay. Now, if you turn to page 10 of these exhibits, of this exhibit 2, we have April 16th, 2020, and these were texts between you and her. Do you know whether on April 16th, 2020, Miss Chandler had advised you of what had happened allegedly to her by Dr. Khan?
I don't recall when I first learned about the allegations of Dr. Khan.
Okay. So the conversation here is about some sort of scar she had from an operation. Is that what it means?
I don't recall.
Could you just look at it and tell me if it refreshes your recollection? Page 10 of Exhibit 2.
I don't see anything about a scar.
Okay. Okay, we'll come back to
Is this exhibit, what you're referring to as exhibit 2?
yes.
Even though it says exhibit 1?
It says Exhibit 2 on their label. This was Exhibit 1 to the complaint.
Gotcha.
Okay, so we can turn over to page 11. Again, there's conversations back and forth between you and Ms. Chandler about reporting crimes, for example. Do you see that? At the top of page 11.
Okay.
Okay. Who is Captain Coleman?
Runs my road patrol.
Okay. So would it have been normal for you to refer her to the person that runs road patrol?
To assign her a deputy if she had a complaint.
Okay. And when you say assign her a deputy, are you the person who assigns deputies, or?
No, if I was, I would assign a deputy. Captain Coleman's the one that assigns it.
Okay. So at that time, back in May 22nd, 2018, Captain Coleman would assign deputies?
That's, they always do it. I don't assign deputies.
Okay. If you go to page 12, and there's a reference on March 13, 2019, of Ms. Chandler asking you about waiting for an appointment. And you respond, well, who needs to be tased, arrested, or beat up to get it done? Were you just joking when you said that?
Correct.
Okay. And then there's requests for help for getting a scholarship for a friend. Do you see that down on April 20th, 2019?
Scholarship. I need a yes to that. I believe it, you know. I don't, oh. Bishop asking sheriff for help for friend. I need a yes on that ask. I believe you know. I don't recall that. The only thing I could say as what's in this letter, I frequently get requests for character references from folks, and then especially this time of the year as high school graduates are graduating from college or from high school, going and seeking scholarships for college in their scholarship packets. I frequently do this for them, and then I'm always character referencing for folks in the community that are seeking jobs and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
As similar to the Exhibit 2A that you've already shown me.
If you'll turn to page 14 of Exhibit 2, a question's asked of her on June 8, 2019, don't you have a room for the homeless? I'm up for adoption. Do you know what that was in reference to?
Don't have a clue.
Okay. But your response is, oh, don't I wish? Why did you respond that way?
Flirtatious Texas.
Okay. And then you texted her on August 20th, 2019, you sunbathing naked again? Why did you ask her that question?
Flirtatious Texas.
Had you seen her sunbathing naked?
No, sir.
Okay. So you just made that up?
Flirtatious Texas.
Okay. So that's a yes, you made it up?
Flirtatious Texas.
But you had not seen her sunbathing naked?
I've already answered that, sir.
It's no, right?
It's no.
Okay. Now, if you go to next page 15, there's a reference to the Music Fest vendors for the Brat Club on October 17, 2019. Are you familiar with the Music Fest?
Correct.
And what are the vendors for the Brat Club?
There was local vendors that the Music Fest allowed to go to the Music Fest, represent what their businesses, nonprofits were for, and they had stuff for the participants to do while they were attending the music fest, and then those parties received donations from Music Fest after the event.
So what was your role in helping her with that request?
Form you can answer.
I don't recall, other than giving her who the contact was that decides who those persons are.
We'll turn to page 16 of these texts. I want to talk to you about your conversations with her about Tony Bishop. It says here on 12/14/2019, there's a text from Miss Chandler to you that, sorry to bother you on a Saturday, but I have a situation. Tony is saying that he's changed the locks and prepared to have me arrested if I return to get the rest of my stuff. My name is on the deed of the house and my mail still goes there. Can he do this? What would I be arrested for? Do you see that question she asked you?
Yes, sir.
And your response.
I'll just object form relevance.
So what I'm first of all, is this a typical question you get from a constituent, like a question about whether you can be arrested?
Almost every other day.
Okay. And your response, and then she said he will have me arrested if I return to the property. And your response is he can't. What is that based
I
upon?
don't think that's my response.
Or excuse me, from Captain Jack Nash.
I don't think it's Captain Jack Nash.
Who's Jack Nash?
He's now a sergeant. I think he was just a deputy at that point.
Okay. Why would Jack Nash be responding?
Form, speculation,
If you
you can
know.
answer.
I'm assuming because Miss Chandler texted him and not me.
Do you know, was Jack Nash the public relations officer for your office?
I do believe he at that time held that position.
Okay. Does he currently hold that position?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what does public relations officer mean?
His duties for me is to stay up on my social media. He is my public information officer when events happen, and we notify the media, be it newspaper, television, radio, and then he also attends events, keeps all our goods and bads and everything in the public's eye.
Okay. Now, did you ever authorize Mr. Nash to give legal advice of this nature?
No, sir.
Okay. Were you familiar before this lawsuit that he had been giving her legal advice that's reflected in these text messages?
Form.
No, sir.
Okay. Now, in respect to your conversations, if you turn to page 17 of the text messages, when you have a moment. I'm going to refer you down to the text of 12/14/2019, where your response is, that's still marital abode and property, you have the right to be there.
Okay.
Now, was that you giving legal advice to Ms. Chandler?
I can't give legal advice.
Well, you told her she has a right to be there.
I give advice to folks when they're dealing with issues. That's what I do.
But you are the sheriff of Okeechobee County.
Correct.
That's the head law enforcement officer of Okeechobee County.
My first role in duty is a law enforcement officer.
So,
in a rural community, and being established 37 years now, I get asked all kinds of stuff every day.
okay.
So that's what that's what a sheriff should do anywhere, let alone in a rural county.
So you're saying that it's appropriate for a sheriff in a rural county, to give legal advice of this nature.
It's not legal advice.
Well, you did tell her.
I'm just giving her advice on what the situation allows, whether it's domestic violence, whether it's property theft, whether it's burglary, whether it's just about anything. Anything you could think of, pull the Florida statute books, and it's in my position, in my involvement in the community, it comes down to how long do you cook a pork butt, and then everything in between, sir.
I understand. So that's still marital abode and property. That's your statement,
Form you can answer.
Okay?
is it? You
It's
see
in
it?
writing, sir.
And then you have the right to be there. You told her that as well.
Okay?
And were you, if you turn to page 18, were you familiar with whether Ms. Chandler was having conversations with someone named Antoinette Rodriguez regarding her telling Ms. Rodriguez that you were involved in the situation with her ex-husband?
No.
Okay. Now, if you turn to page 19 of this exhibit, on January 30th, 2020, there's a rather long text from Ms. Chandler to you. Can you just look at that for a moment?
Okay?
In the third paragraph down, she refers to, I didn't keep my word to you of moving on the 28th and removing my name from the deed. Do you ever recall a conversation before this text where she promised you she was going to move out on the 28th?
No, sir.
Okay. Now your response is on the next page, page 20, and it looks like your response is about 4 minutes later. I'll be praying for you and wishing you good health. Miss you, love you. See that response?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then she says, thank you, miss you, and love you. You see that as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. If you'll turn to page 22 of this exhibit, 2. The email from May 4th, 2020, from her to you.
Text message.
I'm sorry, you're right. Sorry, sir. Text message. Could you read what she asked you?
Sorry to bother you this late. My attorney just told me that I had to make a sexual assault complaint report tomorrow. Do I do that with you or who?
Did you know who her attorney was at that moment?
No, sir.
And then your response, could you read that?
Hello, lady. Either come to the office and see one or call one to the house, assuming it happened here.
Now, I noticed that you responded to her less than 3 minutes later. Is that normal for you to respond so quickly to a constituent's text?
Form.
All the time.
Okay. And then the question is, anyone or detective? Do you see that question?
From her to I?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Then if you go to page 23 of this exhibit, it says start with a deputy and it will go to a detective. Is that correct?
Okay.
Okay. Do you know if prior to that date, May 5th, 2020, Ms. Chandler had ever had a conversation with you regarding an allegation by Dr. Khan?
No, sir.
You don't recall or you don't know?
I don't recall.
Okay. When a person wants to visit you at the sheriff's office, the physical location, what's the process for that person to go through?
Normally somebody will come into the lobby, they'll ask the receptionist if I can see the sheriff, if my assistant is available, she'll be contacted, and then they'll go out and greet the person and say that, Mr. A is out here to see you.
Okay. And what happens when that happens as far as request, do you normally go out there and meet the person, or you bring them back to your office?
They usually get brought into my office at that point.
And is there a particular place in your office that they sit down?
It depends. I've got a round table, meeting table in my office, and then I have my desk with chairs. So depending, most of the time, I'm out from behind my desk and sitting at the table with folks.
Okay. I'll show you what we'll mark as Exhibit 3. You had just testified, sir, that there's a process to see you. I'm showing you what I marked as Exhibit 3, which came in from documents requested from your office. Could you tell me what this appears to be?
This appears to be when we had a iPad sign in, check in at the in the front lobby.
Okay. And it says sign in time February 26, 2020, 9:50 a.m. You see that?
Say that date again.
Feb-
2020?
February 26, 2020, 9:50 a.m.
Thank you.
Okay.
And visitor type sheriff, it says Miss Teresa Bishop is here to see you at the front desk.
Okay.
Is that the type of message that you would get when a constituent such as Miss Bishop would be there to see you?
I never received any of these messages.
Well, how does a person get back to you then? Like, does someone call you?
Goes to my assistant, then my assistant comes to me, either with who's out there or with the party that's out front.
Now, can you recall then whether you actually saw Teresa Bishop on February 26, 2020 at 9:50 a.m.?
I don't recall.
Okay. But this does appear to be an accurate record of how a person would check in to visit you?
Could be, yes, sir.
Well, you say could be. Why wouldn't it be?
Why couldn't it be? Do
Well-
we know that 100%?
Well, I requested it from your office, so I'm just
Okay.
asking you, does this appear to be a record from your office?
It possibly does, yes, sir.
Okay. So there's a possibility that Ms. Bishop was at your office on February 26, 2020 at 9:50 a.m. to see you.
Possible, but it doesn't know that I was there to see her.
Okay. Okay. I'm just asking you that she's
It's
there.
possible, yes, sir.
Now, you don't know where you were on February 26, 2020 is what you're telling us?
I don't know where I was at yesterday sometimes, sir.
Okay.
The older I get, the worse that gets.
I'm going to show you Exhibit 4 from the text messages and ask you if you recognize who that person is.
Yes, sir.
Who is that?
Denise Grimsley.
And what was Miss Grimsley doing with you?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I mean, it's hard to say.
And what does Miss Grimsley do?
She was a nurse by profession. She was I think a representative and then maybe a senator
Okay.
at one time.
And was there any particular reason you would be with her that you can recall?
Most likely we're at a function together. It looks like the background is not my office. So I would say that once again, we're at a political function somewhere.
Okay. And would that be a picture you would share with others?
Forum, you can answer.
Why not? Yes, sir. I mean, it's
Okay.
a politician with another politician, and their pictures get shown all the time, sir.
Okay. We're going to mark our next set of, and if you need to break anytime, just let me know, sir. Yeah, let's, if you don't mind, we can put these here for her.
I forgot to tell you, at the end of the day, I get anything with a sticker on it.
One of them doesn't have a sticker on it.
Oh, okay.
We'll make sure.
Well, I'll figure it out. At
Okay.
break. It'll be fine.
Okay, we're going to show you now what's Exhibit 5. So I'm going to go through these. We'll try to identify the pages as we go through them. Your testimony, if I understand it, is you're not sure exactly when Ms. Chandler first reported to you that she had an incident with Dr. Khan.
Okay.
Is that your testimony? Or,
Okay.
or can you recall when she
I
first?
don't recall, no, sir.
Okay. You don't know whether it's February 26th or May 5th or any date in between?
I don't recall, sir.
Okay. Now, these are text messages between you and her after she meets with a deputy at your office. I want to go through these with you. Now, do you recall having a conversation with her after she reported the incident about her name being placed out in the newspaper?
I don't recall.
Okay. On June 26, 2020 at 2:53 p.m., according to this text, you say, "Hey lady, state's doing a great job on your case." What did you mean by that?
Don't recall. I can only assume that something was printed in the paper and the case was moving forward.
Okay, but when you say the state, who are you referring to?
State Attorney's Office.
Did you have conversations before June 26, 2020 with them about her allegations?
Never had conversations that I recall.
Then her text to you is, 8 more ladies have come forward. Do you see that?
Okay.
And then you respond, and a couple to city. What did you mean by that?
Just reading the text that you're showing me here, I think at that point there was some movement with the case with outside other victims, according to what was stated in the paper, and what I'd heard coming from the city police department.
And when you say you heard, who told you that there were a couple from the city?
I don't recall. Rumor mill goes, and this was a pretty significant case with the two of them. So there was gossip and chatter going on all over the place.
If you turn to page 2, on June 24th, there's a text to you, or you send a text, "Arrest made out paper today." And then a response, "I saw it, thank you. They just released another story online too." And there's looks like a picture of your local news. It says, "A local doctor accused of assaulting woman." Do you see that?
Yes, sir.
So did you text her that her arrest made the paper?
Correct. I would assume that based on what we were reading.
Okay. And why were you continuing a conversation with her about the case?
She's a friend,
Okay.
just like Dr. Khan's a friend.
I understand that. And you actually testified in his trial that she was the same type of friend as Dr. Khan was.
Correct.
But we now know that's not true,
Objection form.
correct?
Okay.
Well, you were different types of friends. You would agree?
I don't, I tell Dr. Khan I love him.
But did you ever send him?
I'll object to the form. There was an order that he was not allowed to talk about the text messages in that trial. So that question was in the context of he can't go to the text message road.
Right. But this testimony is still improper. It was wrong. That you testified at that trial that you knew Dr. Khan, no differently than you knew Miss Chandler, but that wasn't the truth.
Form, argumentative. You can
Oh.
answer.
Okay. But your client's the one that grabbed Miss Chandler's breast, not I.
Well, according
That's
to
why we're here today.
Well, according to her.
According to him.
No, that's not what he said.
So spin it however you want to, counselor. Let's move forward.
It's not a spin, it's the truth. So the question I'm asking you is, you said just you know Dr. Khan exactly as you know Miss Chandler, but that is not correct.
Form.
You know Miss Chandler in a different way than you know Dr. Khan.
I wouldn't say that.
Form asked and answered.
Could you point to any text message you ever sent to Dr. Khan that was sexual in nature?
I don't know that we're just talking flirtatious on him. You know, I mean, it's, I called Dr. Khan and told him that we had warrants for him, out of courtesy, as a friendship.
Well, we're gonna get to that. Okay, we'll get to that
I
in a
mean,
moment.
it's all relevant, counselor.
Okay, we'll get to that in a moment. Let's get back to our Exhibit 5, not to get off track, so we're not here all day. So there's a conversation back and forth, and she basically says to you, let's go to page 4, I think it's a little easier to read. Do you recall a conversation that you had with her regarding trying to make changes to her written statement?
I don't recall.
Okay. Do you ever recall texting her at the top of page 4 of this exhibit, no changes can be made? Corrections and amendments can happen in supplemental form. Javier can do that if he agrees with your changes.
That's standard, that's law, that's the way things go.
Okay. So that fair to say that would be your statement?
Sounds like it, yes, sir.
Okay. At the bottom of page 4, you say, no changes. Your civil attorney has all he or she needs. Who is her civil attorney?
No clue.
Well, why would you refer to a civil attorney if you don't know who it is?
Well, I don't have a clue. I mean, when you read the statements and what she's trying to say, you know, her criminal attorney is the state attorney. So, you know, I must have taken what she was trying to text or change to be on the civil side.
So it would be fair to say at that point you knew she had a civil lawyer handling a civil case.
It's possible.
Okay. And you knew at that moment in time that she was suing Dr. Khan for civil damages.
Form, you can answer.
All mere speculation. I don't recall.
Okay. You can't recall if she was suing him.
I can't recall the conversation, sir.
Okay. But you knew for sure she had a civil attorney based on your text.
I don't know that for sure, no, sir.
Well, you wouldn't lie to her in a text, would you?
I don't know, sir.
You may lie to her in a text?
I don't know.
Okay. So you're just not sure what you meant when you said your civil attorney?
No, sir.
Okay. Then on page 5, there is a Facebook post from Dr. Khan that she shared with you. And this was July 19, 2020. And in this Facebook post, he states that he's vigorously contesting the allegations and will be exonerated at trial. My accuser is demanding money and she's retained lawyers from New York. So you'd agree you read this text message she sent you in this Facebook post?
I must have bruised it, yes, sir.
Okay, so you're at least on notice at that point that she's suing him with lawyers from New York.
Form.
Okay.
Because you say interesting. Is that
Okay.
what you say? Okay. So you've seen his response on Facebook.
And based on my answer, I must have really been into it.
Okay. So you were really reading it.
I don't know. I mean, based on, I would say that my answer plays off the what she's trying to drag me into by merely saying interesting
Okay.
and leaving it alone.
Now, July 25th text says happy birthday to you. Is that your birthday?
25th, yes, sir.
Okay. So that was your birthday then, when she said
Correct.
happy birthday. And then on page 6, there's a comment at the top and it text to you. One other note, I don't know how you do your job. If I knew then what I know now, I would have never come forward with this case. Man has beat me up terribly, very, very stressful. And then what was your response?
Based on the text message, our system dang sure is not in the favor of the victim.
And what did you mean by that?
Have you ever done any criminal law?
For 30 years.
Well, then you know well what I'm saying in this text message, in the he said, she said type of cases that we're here for today.
Right. You agree in a he said, she said case, the police do have an obligation to corroborate the he said and she said parts of the case.
Form.
I feel that our obligation is to take all the parties' information, good, bad, and indifferent, present it to the state, and and we've developed over time that we have the opportunity to PC to arrest somebody on probable cause, but we worked over the years in my 30-year career to the point now we consult with the prosecutors prior to charging. Okay. Because of and especially in a profile case such as this, that we don't hastily charge and we're all on the same page.
Okay. With that in mind, let's go back to Exhibit 2.
I think that might be the one that you don't have marked. That's that one.
Oh, you're right, because I gave you you're right. There it is.
Isn't that theft?
Ha ha. Turn to page 34. If you need a break, we can take it, sir.
No, sir. If you don't mind me just answering some of these real quickly while we're going on, we can rock on.
Well, let's
Part of my job, sir. Like I said.
go ahead and answer your
I'm
text.
doing them both. I can
And let's take a
multitask.
break for a moment so I can grab one to the restroom.
For off the record, the time is 11:12 a.m.